Dame Katherine Grainger, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
You're obviously most known for being the UK's most celebrated Olympic female athlete. But outside of your Olympic medals and World Championship titles, what would you say your biggest achievement has been so far?
Good question. Before I started rowing, my biggest achievement was definitely, I was proudest of, was when I got my black belt in karate before I left school. And I was the first student that the art teacher was the karate teacher at school. And I started as a complete novice in karate when I was started school. By the time I finished school, I got my black belt, and I was the first student he'd taken through that sort of in the time I was there. And that was amazing. And then one of my leaving gift from him was, and he was a really, really massively experienced black belt teacher, and he gave me his first original black belt, which I still have. It's one of my proudest sort of items I own. And then, to be honest, finishing my PhD.
Yeah.
Probably the longest thing I've ever done in life, other than rowing, and that took a lot, because I did that while I was competing internationally, and that was a big, long, hard graft. So I was very proud to get that one done.
There's been a lot of talk recently about women's equality with the Me Too and Time's Up movement, particularly in the film industry. Mm-hmm. You're obviously chair of UK Sport now, so how do you think sort of the sporting community is dealing with those sort of issues? Do you think that there's enough opportunities for female athletes to get into roles of leadership like the ones you have at the moment?
Yeah, I think you always want more, if I'm honest. I think we've had a big change, and even in my, I was an athlete for 20 years, and even that time, I think we saw huge leaps in females, just the level they were competing at and the success that different women in different sports had, and also the profile that got raised. So a lot of the really positive influence you can have as an athlete and as a female athlete is sort of when your story is told, and you do make headlines, and there's ways that the public can engage. And I certainly know when I've been in crews internationally and teams that have been successful, it's sort of how those stories of the success is told then have a direct influence on girls at school or girls at clubs, and the aspirational and the inspirational effect is immense. And then I think increasingly, it's not just on the women's side, but on athletes generally, what we've seen in the last year is the athlete voice becoming much stronger and needs to be heard and should be heard. And whether there's allegations of welfare or bullying or all these sort of things that have come up in the last 12 months really in sport, it's awful to hear any of the examples, but the only positive that comes out of it is that voice is really being heard now.
Yeah.
There are people really paying attention, and nobody who works in sport, who loves sport, who believes in the power of sport, wants any of those stories to be happening again. So I think the voice is being heard, and also the response is very good. So I think whether it's in women's sport specifically or just general, people who feel vulnerable within sport, I think their voices are stronger and louder and being heard, and the response is better.
Yeah. So one of your biggest jobs as chair of UK Sport is sort of dealing with the spreading of funding for different sports. No doubt you probably get regular requests from different sports about wanting more money. So how do you sort of deal with that balance between, say, more elite sports that get high profile athletes but possibly aren't played as widespread across the UK, say skeleton that we did very well in the Winter Olympics, versus other sports like basketball that loads of people in the UK play, but we don't always get to the same international heights, and may actually not until they get given sort of the same level of funding?
It's a big debate that's happened and is ongoing, and it's a great debate to have, and an important debate to have. To be more precise about the current situation, so UK Sport that I'm chair of, it's an arm's length government body, and we have to be in line with the government sports strategy. And at the moment, the money that comes into UK Sport, and a lot of it comes from the National Lottery, it's one of the good causes, and also from the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, the other sort of income. And where that money goes to, and where UK Sport as an organisation, the only things we can invest in is we're trying to create inspiration through Olympic and Paralympic success. And at the moment, the success is defined by success on the podium, so sort of medal success. So we don't look into, and it's not part of our sort of job description to look into participation or activity numbers or any of that. So in this country, in England, Sport England has that brief. They've got a much bigger budget, and their real drive, and they do some fantastic work of engagement. And they did This Girl Can sort of project to get girls involved in sport, and they really want to sort of access grassroots and sort of club level activity. When it comes to people who are, you know, at the Olympic level or Paralympic level, that's where as UK Sport we can fund and invest in. But the decisions are very hard, because you feel any athlete with any potential at that level should be supported, should be funded, and that's sort of what's happened in the past. What we've seen in recent years is the sort of funding has been, well, the money that we can access is less, and we don't know how it will be going forward. But while it's less, then, and also we have more successful athletes across more sports, the money doesn't reach as far as it used to. So that's where the really tough decisions go in. And what we do is every sort of 4 years, after every major summer games, we can relook at the whole strategy of funding and saying, this is what we've done so far in agreement with the government. And it's a response also to the public. The public do want to see, and we do test it every few years, the public still want to see medal success, and Team GB coming back with those shiny medals. And while that's still the driving factor in that, in agreement with the government, is the way to go, then that's how the decisions are made. But this year is the next year that we're going to go through the whole thing again. So kind of everything's back on the table. Should we look at other sports that maybe aren't achieving the podium yet, but have the potential to, but in a long time in the future, can we find money to fund those ones? And everything will be looked at to see if we really are kind of meeting that criteria of inspiration through sport.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.